The 1960s were not just a decade, they were a declaration. Britain's roads were ruled by machines built with ambition, crafted for the powerful, the refined, and the quietly distinguished. These were not ordinary cars. They were rolling statements of status, engineering pride, and unmistakable British identity. Welcome to Britain Rewind, where we bring the golden era of British motoring back to life. Today, we count down 10 iconic British executive saloons of the 1960s. By the time we reach number 1, you'll understand why one car didn't just lead the pack, it defined the standard for decades. Now let's start with number 10. Number 10, Austin 3 Litre. Here's a car that had everything going for it, and somehow never quite got the recognition it truly deserved. Launched in 1967, the Austin 3 Litre arrived at a critical moment when the British Motor Corporation desperately needed a genuine executive contender. Positioned against the Rover P5 and Triumph 2000, it looked the part, long, formal, and draped in chrome-laden respectability synonymous with the British establishment. Under the bonnet sat a 2,912cc six-cylinder C-Series engine, borrowed from Austin Healey heritage but carefully retuned for dignified, effortless long-distance cruising. Inside, walnut veneer and genuine leather spoke of real ambition. The ride was smooth, the cabin impressively composed, and the driving experience genuinely pleasing. But here's what most people don't realize: production lasted only 3 short years, quietly ending in 1971. Poor sales had already sealed its fate. Was BMC simply too late to the executive class? The next car had no such problems. Number 9, Wolseley 6110. At first glance, the Wolseley 6110 might seem like just another badge-engineered saloon from the BMC stable. But look a little closer, and this is where things get genuinely interesting. Introduced in 1961, the 6110 represented Wolseley's finest post-war hour. Built on the BMC C-Series platform and powered by a silky 2,912cc six-cylinder engine, it offered refinement that punched well above its price point. That distinctive illuminated Wolseley grille badge was more than branding, it signaled arrival. Police forces across Britain adopted it widely, and for good reason. The 6110 was planted, capable, and deeply authoritative on the road. The interior was a proper gentleman's retreat, deep carpets, leather seating, and enough wood trim to embarrass a yacht. But here's the curious thing: despite all that quality, Wolseley as a brand was quietly disappearing. Would you have chosen the badge, or the rival that wore its engineering far more honestly? Number 8, Humber Super Snipe Series 5. Now here's a name that carries genuine weight. The Humber Super Snipe, and by the time the Series 5 arrived in 1964, it had evolved into something quite extraordinary. Humber was Roots Group's flagship brand, and the Super Snipe was its crown jewel. Powered by a 2,965cc straight-six engine producing 128 horsepower, it offered muscular performance wrapped in genuine luxury. The body was broad, purposeful, and unmistakably upper class. Senior civil servants, ambassadors, and senior military officers were frequent occupants of that spacious, walnut-trimmed interior. Automatic transmission was available, making it the perfect choice for effortless road travel across Britain. You might not expect this, but the Super Snipe also served as a limousine base, a true prestige platform for coach builders. And yet, by 1967, the model was discontinued, a casualty of Roots Group's financial troubles. Such a dignified end for such a dignified machine. Were you aware of its history? Number 7, Vauxhall Cresta PC. Not every British executive car wore its ambitions quietly. The Vauxhall Cresta PC was unapologetically bold, a car that arrived in 1965 wearing American-inspired styling at a time when transatlantic influence was considered glamorous rather than gauche. Vauxhall, Luton's very own, had always understood how to give working Britain a taste of something far grander. And the Cresta PC delivered exactly that. Its sweeping roofline, optional vinyl roof, and wide stance gave it a presence that turned heads on every high street from Bristol to Burnley. Under the bonnet, a 3,294cc six-cylinder engine provided genuinely effortless performance. The interior was spacious enough for a family, yet refined enough for a company director. And this is where things get interesting. The Cresta PC offered optional reclining front seats. In 1965. That was genuinely forward-thinking. It was far more car than most people expected from Vauxhall. Would you have ever been tempted? Number 6. Ford Zodiac MK4. The Ford Zodiac MK4 was a car that polarized opinion the moment it arrived, and that, in itself, tells you everything. Launched in 1966, the Zodiac MK4 was Ford's boldest executive statement in Britain, and nothing quite prepared people for its dramatic styling. Gone was the conservative British restraint of its predecessors. In its place came a low, wide, American-influenced body that looked as though it had been sketched in California rather than Dagenham. The 2,994cc V6 engine delivered strong, confident performance, while four-wheel independent suspension gave it a genuinely composed ride that shamed many of its more expensive rivals. Inside, the cabin offered generous space and that reassuring sense of solidity that Ford always did rather well. But here's what most people don't realize: it was considered too radical. Fleet buyers stayed away. The boldest Ford in Britain became one of its slowest sellers. Surprising, isn't it? Number 5. Triumph 2000 MK2. If there was ever a car that embodied Britain's aspiration to compete with Europe's finest, it was the Triumph 2000. The MK2 version, arriving in 1969, was a refinement of an already excellent formula. British Leyland sharpened the styling, freshened the interior, and produced something genuinely special. The 2000cc straight-six engine was smooth, willing, and responsive, particularly when paired with the optional overdrive gearbox that made long motorway journeys feel effortless. The Triumph 2000 appealed to a very specific British buyer, educated, aspirational, slightly left-leaning intellectually, and deeply suspicious of ostentation. It was the car of architects, academics, and senior civil servants who wanted something better than a Ford but couldn't quite justify a Rover. And this is where things get interesting: it genuinely rivaled Germany's finest at a fraction of the price. Would you have made that choice? The answer for thousands of loyal Britons was an emphatic yes. Number 4. Rover 2000 TC. And then came the car that rewrote the rulebook entirely. The Rover 2000 TC, TC standing for twin carburetor, arrived in 1966 as the performance variant of what was already considered the finest medium executive saloon in Britain. Where the standard Rover 2000 was refined and gentlemanly, the TC was something altogether more compelling. That 2000cc four-cylinder engine, fed through twin SU carburetors, produced 124 horsepower, modest by today's standards, but electric in the context of the mid-1960s British executive class. The chassis, designed around a remarkable base unit construction, gave the TC handling that left most rivals embarrassed. Road testers adored it. Motoring journalists competed to run out of superlatives. But here's the thing most people overlook: the Rover 2000 TC also competed internationally. It ran at Le Mans. It was that kind of car. Subtle on the outside, extraordinary on the inside. Does any of that sound familiar? Number 3. Daimler Sovereign Series 1 4.2. By the time we reach the top 3, the air gets considerably thinner. The Daimler Sovereign Series 1 4.2 was not simply a car, it was a statement of absolute intent. Launched in 1966, the Sovereign was, at its mechanical heart, closely related to the Jaguar XJ6, but dressed in Daimler's considerably more distinguished coat. That 4.2-litre XK straight-six engine produced 245 horsepower, and it did so with a silken smoothness that felt almost supernatural. The fluted radiator grille, the traditional Daimler script, and the deep leather interior signaled to the outside world that the occupant had arrived, in every sense. Ambassadors kept them. Company chairmen relied on them. This was the choice of people who found the Jaguar slightly too conspicuous. And this is where things get genuinely fascinating: the Daimler Sovereign would eventually help birth the car that changed everything. Can you guess what's coming at number 1? Number 2. Rover P5B Saloon. Some cars age gracefully. The Rover P5B Saloon didn't just age gracefully, it became a genuine national institution. Arriving in 1967 with one transformative change, a 3,528cc BIC-derived V8 engine replaced the older six-cylinder unit that could no longer keep pace with executive expectations. That V8 gave the P5B an effortless power delivery that was nothing short of mesmerizing. 6 prime ministers used the Rover P5 or P5B as their official transport, from Harold Wilson all the way to Margaret Thatcher. Let that sink in. This was not merely a car. It was an instrument of British governance, a rolling extension of Downing Street itself. The interior was unhurried, deeply traditional, and completely insulated from the outside world. But here's what makes the P5B truly remarkable. Even today, it commands a devotion among enthusiasts unlike almost any other British saloon. Royalty included. What more do you really need to know? Number 1. Jaguar XJ6 Series 1. And here we are. Number 1. The car that didn't just define the decade, it defined the genre for entire generations. The Jaguar XJ6 Series 1 was launched in 1968, and even now, over 50 years later, its arrival feels like an act of sheer audacity. William Lyons, Jaguar's founder, created something the motoring world was simply not prepared for. The XJ6 offered Rolls-Royce levels of refinement at roughly half the price. The 4.2-litre straight-six engine was musical, effortless, and utterly civilized. The ride was described by period testers as the finest in the world, from any manufacturer, at any price. The cabin was a cocoon of leather, walnut, and deep pile carpet. But here's the real reason the XJ6 matters: it didn't just succeed. It made every single rival on this list look like it was merely trying. That is the definition of a masterpiece. Welcome to the very summit. Britain's executive saloons of the 1960s were never just cars. They were expressions of identity, aspiration, and quiet national pride. From the dignified Wolseley to the commanding Rover P5B, each machine told a story of Britain at its absolute finest. And the Jaguar XJ6? That wasn't just a car, it was a declaration. A benchmark that echoed through the decades. So here's our question: which of these 10 would you have chosen? Drop your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through British motoring history, please like and subscribe, and join us next time on Britain Rewind.